Good day, folks. Good day to you. We are up to number 3 in the Noble Eightfold Path of Right Stuff. And it is right speech today. In the Samyutta Nikaya, which is one of the earliest Buddhist scriptures, it says about right speech, it defines it as abstaining from lying, from divisive speech, from abusive speech, and from idle chatter. This is called right speech. And those early Buddhists say that in order for something to be right speech, what you say must be, here we go, factual, true, beneficial, and endearing and agreeable to others. But even if it ticks off all those boxes, you have to have the right timing to say the thing because you need to demonstrate your sympathy for living beings. So that's how they defined right speech. Now, we did the precepts earlier, a couple of weeks ago, and you'll notice that a lot of the precepts are devoted to right speech. You could say that the vow not to lie, the vow not to speak of past mistakes of oneself and others, the vow not to praise self at the expense of others, and the vow not to slander Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Those are clearly examples of right speech in the precepts. And you could also include the vow not to be angry, because anger is usually expressed in verbal form, sometimes not. So that is, let's see, 4.5 of the 10 precepts are dedicated to right speech. So right speech is definitely an important one. And it's important because that's how humans usually interact, is by speaking to each other. So that's really important to get that part of it right. My dog, Ziggy Pup, he has a one-word vocabulary. It's just woof. And it's in louder or softer or more frequent or higher or lower, but it's just one word. That's all he's got. Well, we've got thousands and millions of words to use, and in order to use them right, we have to be careful. And Ziggy, if I tell him, you can't see him, but he's sitting right next to me. If I say, go for a W-A-L-K, I don't want to do it too loud, and we're not really going out, then he gets sad, So even he can react to a lie. Well, it's not really a lie. Sometimes I just use the word accidentally, and he gets you can see him get excited for a little while, and I have to say, well, we're not really going out. So if even the dog can get hurt by a lie, what more humans can get hurt by a lie or by wrong speech? So we got to be careful about how we speak. There's something else I wanted to mention, which is, since the last time we spoke, and I had a... What are you doing, Ziggy? Since the last time we did a video, I discovered another place in Dogen's Shobogenzo. Well, this isn't actually part of Shobogenzo, but it's included as one of the appendix. It's called 108 Gates of Dharma Illumination. And in this, he also goes through the various parts of the Noble Eightfold Path. So I'll just give you very quickly the first two. I'll give you the first three. And maybe we can talk about them later, because I didn't give them to you in the last videos. Right view is a gate of Dharma illumination, for with it we attain the noble path on which the superfluous is exhausted. Okay. Right discrimination, which is what he gives for right thought, and he actually uses a Japanese word that means discrimination here, so he's changed it a little bit. But he says, right discrimination is a gate of Dharma illumination, for with it we eliminate all discrimination and lack of discrimination. Now, of course, discrimination here does not mean racial discrimination or anything like that. It means discriminating things from each other. And right speech, which is what we're talking about today, is a gate of Dharma illumination, for with it concepts, voice, and words are all known as sound. And I take that to mean that he's taking two views on speech. So in the one view, which is what Nishijima Roshi would have called subjective, speech has meaning. Everything I say has a meaning, and you're listening to this because it has meaning to you. On the objective point of view, which is the second view in Nishijima Roshi's four views, it's just a sound, the same thing as the sound that Ziggy makes when he wants to speak. So we hold both of those views. We understand first that speaking is important and we need to be careful with it. On the other hand, we also understand that speaking is just a sound that comes out of the mouth, and we can't get too hung up on everything that comes out of the mouth. It's like getting too hung up on everything that comes out of your mind. It's not good to have that kind of one-sided view of things. In the 37 Gates of Dharma Illumination, Dogen says, right speech as a branch of the path is the mute self not being mute. Mutes among ordinary people have never been able to express the truth. People in the mute state are not mutes. They do not aspire to be saints and do not add something spiritual onto themselves. Right speech is mastery of the state in which the mouth is hung on the wall, and is mastery of the state in which all mouths are hung on all walls. It is all mouths being hung on all walls. So that's pretty crazy sounding, and I'll tell you how I interpret that. Well, first of all, that mouths hung on walls, let's see, where's the dang, oh, yeah. This is an allusion to a poem that Dogen wrote, which goes, the innate subtle wisdom is itself the true reality. Why should we rely on Confucian commentaries and Buddhist texts? Sitting upon the quiet floor, I hang my mouth on the wall. There's Ziggy. Awareness of sound arrived at this place and took away my vacancy. So hanging your mouth on the wall just means the shutting up part of sitting down and shutting up, which is doing zazen. Ziggy, what are you barking at? Ziggy! Anyway, so that's what that means. I take this stuff about the mute self not being mute. The mute self is the true self, the ultimate self, the great self. And that self is mute, yet it forms itself into me, into you, and it makes sounds. So the mute self is also not mute. People in the mute state are not mutes. They do not aspire to be saints and do not add something spiritual onto themselves. Ooh, I take that to mean not aspiring to be saints is what we do in Zazen. We're not trying to become a Buddha, as the old koan goes. And we are doing the practice purely for the sake of doing the practice. So he's talking about the practice of Zazen again here. People in the mute state are not mutes means we could make a sound, but we choose not to when we're doing Zazen practice. And the mastery of the state in which the mouth is hung on the wall, well, we already talked about what the mouth being hung on the wall meant. The mastery of that state is the mastery of Zazen practice. Now, the fact that Dogen defines right speech that way does not mean that he's not also defining it the other way. So he's not trying to negate the traditional understanding of right speech. In fact, here in Shobo Genzo's Wee Monkey, which is not part of Shobo Genzo, sorry, the title happens to contain the word Shobo Genzo, but it's a compilation of things that Eijo, one of his students, remembered hearing Dogen say. So it's actually written by Eijo and not Dogen, but it's often attributed to Dogen because these are supposedly things Dogen said. Dogen told his monks, there is a code of conduct that has been carried out by previous Buddhas regarding the manners of body, speech, and mind. Each one of you should follow them. Even in the secular world, it is said that clothes should be in accordance with the law, speech should be based on the way. Much more so should Zen monks never follow their own selfish ideas. And, he said, in the scriptures it is said, though coarse and violent actions may sometimes cause people to wake up, worthless speech obstructs the true way. Be it even a word which comes to the lips unintentionally, useless talk hinders the way. Still more lewd talk will excite the mind. You must be most careful. Without forcing yourself not to use such language, if you realize it is bad, you will be able to reform gradually. There you go. There's two different ways of looking at right speech, and I think they're both valid and they're both interesting, and that's right speech. If you want to continue allowing me to do right speech, you can send a donation to the little thingy that's appearing on your screen right now, the address there, or if you're watching on YouTube, there are direct links to PayPal and Patreon. These videos are free. They are offered to you for free, and I don't charge you for them, and I don't charge for most of the things I do, but the way I make most of my living is doing these things. And there was somebody on the YouTube page yesterday complaining that I'm asking for money. Well, I'm sorry. I don't really like to do this, but this is the way I make my living, and I thank all of you for your kind donations. This guy apparently thinks I work 3 hours a day, or 3 hours a week, that's what he said, and then the rest of the time I'm sitting by the pool drinking Chardonnay, and just having a great time. This is not the case at all. In fact, if you go to my blog and you look at the events section, I've listed my touring schedule, and I have the touring schedule going all the way back to 2009, which is the first year I did it internationally. I actually was doing it for a few years before then, and you can see that the number of places I've gone has decreased. The reason is, for years I refused to take donations because I thought, just like this guy who commented on me, that was not a good way to make one's living, and I busted my butt traveling. I did so much traveling that one year, I can't remember which year this was, I just didn't have an apartment at all. I put everything in storage, and I spent like 9 months of that year just caravanning around without a fixed address. It was really not a good way to live. But that's the way I had to do in order to earn a living doing this. So I really thank you for donating by pushing that little button and sending me something by PayPal or Patreon, because that means I don't have to go out and do that as much, and it really helps. And if you are short on money, as I always say, don't donate to me, because we're doing okay here. I'm hanging in there. But those of you who are able to contribute, I really, really thank you. Have a good time all the time. See you later. Bye.